Welcome to Executive Exchange Radio with moderator Joe Cristiano, America's corporate exorcist. Hosted by Dr. Jennifer Beeman and George Gutierrez, trusted advisors to chief executives and business leaders across the nation. If you would like to add to the conversation, call 646-652-4620.
Welcome, everyone, to Executive Exchange Radio. I'm your moderator, Joe Cristiano, and I'm here today online with Dr. Jennifer Beeman and Mr. George Gutierrez of the BMOC Group. They specialize in corporate governance, corporate operations, and productivity. Today, we're going to talk about a subject which is transforming America's corporations. America's corporations were built by managing the business, but also managing people. And slowly but surely, companies have learned that people didn't like to be managed. They like to be coached. People want to be coached because they want to be part of the team. When you're managed, you're not really part of the team. You're not made to feel that way. Making that transition, companies have found that just tremendous difficulty in making that conversion. There are so many problems associated with the transition itself, and maybe we'll delve into some of those, and maybe those of you who are listening identify with these problems and can initiate some of these in your company to make it perform and be more profitable. Dr. Beeman, George Gutierrez, here we are again, one more time on Executive Exchange Radio, solving the problems of corporate America.
And we do that all in 30 minutes.
Well, you know, when people hear managing, they don't like, yeah, I agree, no one likes to be managed, but apparently the surveys that have been taken of employees, 4 out of 5 employees hated being managed, you know, but they would like to be coached, which poses a heck of a problem because you now have to not only define what the managing was that was good and bad, but then you have to define what coaching is, and can a manager be a coach when we promoted someone to be a manager, not to be a coach, but to be a manager. So it seems that you have multiple obstacles in order for this transition to evolve successfully and for the company to operate more efficiently from top to bottom.
Yeah, there's a good article that was just published by Vipula Gandhi, and the article was published on the 31st of May, and I'm looking at it. It's called Managers Get Ready for Ongoing Performance Conversations. And, you know, anybody that's really interested in a quick review, go look at, you can get it online, and it's really a very short read, but I think all the high points are well accentuated. And one of the things that we have come to agree on Executive Exchange Radio throughout our various discussions is that people are really important. You know, people are really important, and organizations and leaders become totally irrelevant when they don't have people to lead. So people in companies, they make a very important ingredient to the success of those companies. So what many companies have come now to realize is that the way that performance conversations or performance reviews have been conducted for quite a while, which is like once a year, is usually a time for bad news, and bad news never get better with time. So this article talks about, I think, really the importance of having a conversation to where the whole process is completely different. And I like to talk about it, but I like to defer to Dr. Beeman because I know she's really passionate about this part of the process as well.
Yes, I am. I believe that if we can train and coach our managers to become better coaches, aka managers, it'll actually make their lives easier, because it's not as much work when it becomes a part of who you are, because your employees respond better. They want to be there. Their loyalty increases. The tenacity, the innovation, all that stuff changes. And so it's an organizational paradigm shift, because for years we've been used to to managers, the word, the term, and the definition manager, and people expect it, and I still see so many. I mean, we all do. Managers who assume the title manager. You go out there and you do what I tell you to do because I told you to do it, and then at the end of the year we'll discuss your performance evaluation, and we'll determine whether or not you get your pay raise. And what can happen is it adds stress to the employee, in so much as the manager, for the months upcoming to in preparation for, and then certainly thereafter, because anytime we see anything that is not positive, we're going to hone in on it. And whereas with coaching, if we have a manager who is also acting as a coach, and they're working at McDonald's, and they see the clerk over there, or I'm not sure what they're called, but the guy over there doing the French fries, leaving the French fries in a little bit too long. You can go over there and say, hey, you know what? Let's make sure that we get them out before it dings, or when it dings, so they don't burn, and correct them on the spot, and then do it in a manner in which, you're doing such a good job. Let's just make sure that they're cooked all the way, or however the situation goes. And what happens is it makes it kills several birds with one stone. The employee feels like his manager cares enough to address it when it happens. He feels like his performance is improving immediately. So guess what? When his annual performance appraisal comes, he's going to know that he knows how to do the French fries.
Right.
Because he nailed it. He nailed it when it needed attention. And so if a manager can do that throughout all the time, really makes life easier on the whole department or the whole organization, because there's we nip things in the bud, and makes people feel better because they're treated like human beings. If it's done in a productive manner, it can be a means of motivation. And when we feel motivated, we're more innovative. When we're more innovative, we're naturally more productive. So it's just like, it's a very cyclical, it's a hard word for me, cyclical process.
Yeah. Well,
on the same note, it goes the opposite way too. I'm sorry, I could go on and on and on.
Well, but you're right. What happens is that the most negative time of the year is performance time. I've been through dozens of performance reviews, and even the good ones I hated. The only performance review that was positive, only one that I can remember, and I worked for a lot of years, lots of years. I started to work when I was in high school. I went all the way up and I'm still working, by the way, but now I have my own businesses. But the only positive review I've had is when I decided to quit a promotion that I received, and I was put in charge of a massive complex for Royal Dutch Shell. We sold millions of dollars worth, millions of barrels worth of fuel oil and whatever. And this was so over my head. I mean, I thought I was going to die of a heart attack after 1 week. Went back to my boss, who I had tremendous respect for, only guy that I've ever worked for that I said was a perfect manager. And I said, Bill, thank you very much for the opportunity, but you got the wrong guy. I can't do it, And he stood there and he said nothing. I said, well, Bill, you going to fire me, or what do you want me to do? He said, well, I want you to go back to work. I said, did I not make myself clear that unfortunately, I'm not your man for this job? He said, Joe, when I get concerned with when someone comes in here and tells me how well they're doing. He says, now get the hell out of my office and get back to work. And, and I had the number one, there were about 6 centers in the United States that did what I did, in North America. I was number 1 after 6 months. But there was a guy who knew how to coach and not manage. He recognized, that what he saw in me was my desire to do well, and I couldn't do well because I didn't think I was capable, but he had more faith in me than I did. And that was a marked achievement. But you don't see it. But that happened once out of 50 performance reviews, if you will. But coaching is interesting because when people think of coaches, they think of basketball coaches or Vince Lombardi or somebody like that, But we're not talking about the same stuff because those coaches can be kind of brutal. I mean, they slap guys around and stuff like that. But in an environment, how do you convert a person who is accustomed to giving orders and being obeyed to just being on the same level as the employee, with the only difference between the employee and the superior or the manager or the supervisor is that they have a broader scope of responsibility. Their scope is just wider, but the objective is exactly the same. How do you convert someone? Because I've known some guys that were just absolute tyrants in management.
Well, so Joe, lots of material here to talk about, but I don't think you can convert anyone to anything that they don't want to be converted into. So it's a matter of, I think, for the greater part of changing one's behavior is through, believing in what one is doing, and then having the right skills and the right knowledge to do that, or to be equipped to do that. So I can remember the first time that I had the word manager imprinted in my business card. Oh my God, all I could do is walk around and look at my business card because I thought I had just moved up in the world, and I couldn't wait to go into the office and go tell somebody what to do and go do it quickly, right? So what companies are doing, and many companies are doing this, they're doing, leadership development. And what Dr. Beeman and I often talk about is, one of the things that we offer to those that are interested is we help organizations to take their super workers into supervisors by making sure that they have the skills and the knowledge through training, to take care of people. But one of the things that you mentioned that was also in the article is that a lot of times we have now been conditioned to equate performance reviews with money.
Right.
So when we're getting our end of year performance review evaluation, it is filled with anxiety. Because we don't know if we're going to get that pay raise or not. And we go in there just saying, tell me where to sign and how much I'm going to get paid, and that's all I need to know. I don't care about nothing else.
Right.
And I've seen it happen just like that. And I've seen it to where some of the managers do it just like that. She goes, you're getting a 3% pay raise, just sign here and everything will be fine. And they walk away. As opposed to what you and Dr. Beeman were describing earlier, which was more of a relationship between really the leader and the led, to where the leadership is distributed in a way that people get outcomes that are beneficial to both. So I've really been thinking about this, so I'm glad you brought it up. The word coach is overused. And everybody is a coach for something. And nobody knows how to coach anything. So to the point that I had that removed from my business card. But we're not talking about having managers become certified coaches. We're not talking about having managers become executive advisors.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is enhancing the relationship between the manager and the employee through a conversation. And what we try to teach these managers is how to converse with their employees To quote Dr. Beeman, which you said earlier, was focusing on the positive, the strength and the positive, that the employees bring into the conversation, and then guide the conversation into a goals achievement type of discussion. Now, there's about 4 different levels of coaching or types. So, for example, if you're in a manufacturing company and you have a new hire, that is still going through the onboarding process and doesn't quite really know the culture of the organization and what the goals of the company are, then we normally recommend that you meet with that individual, at least once a month. And throughout the time that month is, occurring, then that manager needs to behave the same way that Dr. Beeman was talking about with the French fry station, to where there are on-the-spot corrections made to make sure that the right behaviors is learned and corrected. That doesn't have to be put in writing. That doesn't have to be something that you go around and you document everything, just for covering your butt later on. We're talking about developing a relationship that eventually goes into some level of trust, where there's an ongoing conversation going on that is based on achieving not only the individual goals, but the department goals that are tied to the organizational goals.
Yeah, and can I interject something too? Also, in reference to, for instance, to the French fry station, when it's done in a positive and a strength-based manner, it can be done and delivered in a way where the individual doesn't feel bad. He just realized, oh, there's a better way to do it. I didn't realize I wasn't doing it quite the way it should have been done. And the cool part is now that I got it fixed, I don't have to worry about it later. And so, and as a manager is doing that constantly with his employees, the employees will realize that there's it'll give them a sense of security, because they know that they will be they're being taken care of on the spot, rather than messing up repeatedly over time. And it creates a safe place for innovation to flow, for all those other good things to happen. So if we can train our managers to assume more of a coaching mindset, it will make their life easier. It will make their employees happier. And another added benefit, I just want to interject this really quick. Millennials, our little millennials, and the next generations, they're big on instant gratification. They want, and something else that they like is they appreciate the wisdom of their elders. Usually, some of us are older. A lot of us are. So, the instant gratification of having them say, "Hey, you know what? You did a great job here. Let's fix this a little, or work on this a little bit." They expect it. So we're satisfying that need as well.
Yeah. By the way, we have Command Sergeant Major Stephen Smith on right now. We have him connected now, right? He called in. We don't have him live, but we have his picture. You look great, Steve.
All right, thank you, sir.
Well, hi there.
Is any comment that you'd like to make as an addendum to what we're discussing right now, from your perspective?
I think it's great. It's a great conversation. If I may, whether you call it a manager or a leader, at the end of the day, I think it comes down to knowing and understanding your employee or your subordinate. And I think it's very important. And coming from my military background, where we did what we called counseling or evaluations on a monthly basis, it's very important that you, on a daily basis, walk around. I don't care if you say hello, or you speak, or you talk, or have a conversation. You have to have the climate of the unit, or the climate of the company, to understand where they're coming from. And Dr. Beeman said it very well. The millennials, they want to feel needed or wanted, understood. The only way the leader or the manager can do that is by walking around and talking on a daily basis, just to get an idea for the feel or the climate of the organization.
Yeah, but in the military, there's a lot of cohesion there. I mean, the group feels a responsibility for each other, and especially if you're in battle or you may anticipate going to battle, your life depends on your relationship with the people around you, and so there's more of a motivation, I suspect, of being a cohesive unit. But does what applies in the military, does it apply as well in corporate America? I mean, get that cohesion is very difficult in corporate America today.
Well, I think you have a point. Yeah, if you take away the word military and just put in the basic leadership abilities or basic leadership principles, it doesn't matter if you are in the military or in corporate America. The bottom line is, to lead, you must lead from the front. In order to lead, you must understand your subordinates. In order to lead, you must have been there one time or another. And in order to influence that, you must let the subordinate or the person that's working for you or with you to understand the fact that, yes, I have been here, I understand. I do know that your name is Stephen. I do know that you are married, that you have a child. I do know that you grew up in this small town and you wanted to go to college, but you could not. You have to understand the person. The bottom line here, or the bluff as I call it, the bottom line up front, unless you understand your people, you will never get the full impact what they can do. Yeah. They will not give you they will not give you all of them. It doesn't matter if you're military, it does not matter if you are a policeman, fireman, doctor, teacher. The end of the line here, the end goal is coach, teach, mentorship. Okay. It doesn't matter if you're military or civilian. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well,
people are people.
Yeah. When you see newsreels, if you will, or documentaries of the military, you always, you see the sergeant yelling at the troops, do this, do that, do this, do that. If they do something wrong, they got, give me 25, and things like that. Right. Well, obviously, we don't do that in corporate America. Maybe we should. Who knows? but we don't do that in America. So isn't that sort of a totally different environment that you're working in, or is there really some commonality there?
I don't think it is. And okay, you said on TV or in movies, that's what sells movies. But an actual leader is not the one yelling and screaming and doing and so forth.
Okay.
People are people. It doesn't matter if they have a uniform on, or if they have on a suit, or if they have on a polo shirt, or if they have on a whatever the case may be. The bottom line is, how do you motivate people? Right. How do you have people? How do you coach, teach, and mentor a person to accomplish the goal that you set forth, that you need set forth? Yeah. Okay. That's a commonality. It doesn't matter whether you are military. It doesn't matter if you are a civilian. It doesn't matter who or what you are. Okay. Leadership is leadership. Right. You don't have to yell and scream. You don't.
Can I add something that you said?
Sometimes. Unless you are Sergeant Major Gutierrez, then every now and again you have to.
Okay, Jennifer, you want to say something?
I just wanted to add something. He did such a beautiful job explaining that. There, as a manager, anybody, as a human being, an individual, the most beautiful sound to any human being is their name. So when we use their name and we know that, like what he was talking about their children, their wife, what they like to do, that is the best way that we can garner someone's genuine interest. So using people's name is a biggie. So it just requires a little extra work. You just get to know your people well enough to know their name. And hey, you're halfway there.
Well, what you're saying then, next time I forget to throw out the garbage and my wife says, drop and give me 50, I should ignore her, right? Okay. All right. I wanted that on record. I just wanted that on record. This is the end of today's broadcast. We'd like to thank everyone for listening in. And so in a couple of weeks, we'll be back with another session with Executive Exchange Radio. Until then, stay well, stay tuned.